Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. This is Sramana Mitra, founder and CEO of 1M by 1M, the first and only global virtual accelerator for technology startups in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do a lot of work through various social media channels as well as regular media channels. And these online rendezvous sessions are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So wherever you're joining us from and through whichever channel, welcome. We are going to do Q&A. I collect questions from various different touch points that we interact through and try to answer some of them in these sessions. Now, every time we do that, we get questions about people who want to actually discuss their projects here. We're very happy to do so. However, this session is not for discussing your projects. We have a separate session for that. Those are our free online roundtables for mentoring. If you go to 1mby1m.com, that's our website, and on the top navigation panel, you'll see free public roundtables. That's where the mentoring sessions are held, and you are very welcome to join us there. And those happen typically on Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And whichever geography, whichever time zone you're on, just do a calculation on what that translates for you and show up, and we will work on your project. These are safe working sessions. All right, let's start with questions today. The first question I'm going to answer is, what should a failed startup founder do next? So, the way I look at entrepreneurship is that it's a very high probability of failure game, right? So the fact that you are even daring to play this game means that you are taking that high probability of failure option in stride. And in the tech industry, therefore, startup failure is considered normal. So the best way, if you venture down this path of startups, tech startups especially, I would suggest that you develop the mindset of a serial entrepreneur, which means that there is no guarantee that everything you do is going to work. But as long as you have this mindset that you're going to try things, if it doesn't work, you're going to try again. You're going to learn from the first one, and then you're going to try again. That gives you the psychological framework in which technology entrepreneurs become successful. Okay, so if you have the stamina, and if you have failed already once, you should start again, but perhaps not right away. You need some rest. You need to get some rest first and recover your energy. You need to contemplate. You need to figure out why you failed. Do a post-mortem of what you did wrong in your venture. To do this, I'm going to point you to the 1M by 1M self-assessment. Go to the website, 1mby1m.com, and on the top left, top navigation panel, you have self-assessment. That's a free tool. These are the questions that typically investors use for due diligence and we use for strategic planning. And this is also the same questionnaire that you need to use to do your post-mortem analysis and see what did you do wrong. Once you have your energy back, let me point you to a few resources that will help you do things more methodically the next time round. A free bootstrapping course is available on the 1M by 1M website. So go look for that. Most businesses can be bootstrapped, at least at the beginning, and you need to learn to do that effectively. It's a very, very common practice to bootstrap first and potentially raise money later. To risk mitigate, I would even say that if you're coming off a failure, you may have depleted your savings and so forth, and you may start to build back some of that. So start by bootstrapping with a paycheck. I will point you to some bootstrapping with a paycheck case studies. You will find these case studies on our blog under Entrepreneur Journeys. One of them is bootstrapping with a paycheck to Y Combinator and $10 million Series A. This is the story of Ryan Chan, CEO of Upkeep. This is a very, very good path to potentially get into Y Combinator. You bootstrap with a paycheck for a few years, get to validation, and then apply for Y Combinator, and you would be fine. In the meantime, while you're bootstrapping with the paycheck, you could join 1 million by 1 million, and we will guide you through the phase, that early phase where you don't need to quit your job and can still be part of an accelerator. A similar case study, similar principles, but another way of looking at it is bootstrapping with a paycheck to Techstars. Naveen Shetty, CEO of Blueprint Registry, also a great case study. We have a superb case study, which is a bootstrapping all the way case study in $1 billion unicorns. It's the story of eClinicalWorks. That's also bootstrapping with a paycheck to a unicorn company story. And a couple of others, but we have how Form Assemblies bootstrapped a virtual company with a paycheck, and bootstrapping with a paycheck in India, Sangeeta Banerjee, CEO of Apartment Adda. So that gives you some case studies. Then comes the question of idea. So your first idea didn't work. The next idea that you want to latch on to obviously needs to depend on what your unfair advantage is, what your expertise is, and so forth. I can start you up with some ideas, 8 startup ideas for the post-COVID world. Look for that on our blog. And we have some very interesting big ideas there. And in there, actually, we have ideas that if you want to work on them and come join 1 million by 1 million, we even have potentially some funding available for some of these ventures. So if you have the expertise, we can, help you in more ways than one. If you're a B2B tech person and want to build a SaaS business, look into building a startup on a PaaS platform. It's one of the cheapest ways to do this. Choose a PaaS platform that has an entire tech stack, great developer tools, great training, a marketplace so that you can acquire customers through their marketplace, an ecosystem accelerator, and a venture fund. So this will give you an idea about, how to evaluate a PaaS to build on. And of course, again, expertise kicks in gear. Your expertise needs to match with the PaaS platform. So you have to pick a PaaS that is aligned with the domain in which you want to build a company. Atlassian is a wonderful PaaS, but it doesn't have an accelerator yet, but you can work with us and we will fill that gap. You can look at my coverage of Atlassian, which covers the PaaS ecosystem very extensively. Shopify is very good within the e-commerce space. Salesforce.com, of course, is one of the best. So we have a lot of coverage of PaaS on our website, on our blog. You're very welcome to look at all that and learn more. So these are some pointers that I have for you, for those of you who have failed as a startup founder already and are trying to figure out what to do next. A lot of this is psychology, but there is also a lot of methodology involved. You need to follow good psychology, good methodology, and good validation, which is why I gave you the self-assessment tool. All right, the next question I'm going to go to is it possible for a lone startup founder to raise funds? The answer is yes, it is. It is absolutely possible. But to do that, you're going to have to get to traction before you start going out to raise money. There is a myth in the startup ecosystem that solopreneurs do not succeed. I don't believe that. This is a myth. Let me point you to case studies. 1 million by 1 million is a program that we teach in case studies. So I'm going to point you to case studies, solopreneur case studies. So one is doing $5 million a year with 3 employees, Fine Out America CEO Sean Broy here. So this company has grown tremendously since we talked to them, but it is a solopreneur's journey too. With just 3 employees, he managed to get to 5 million in revenue with a very interesting marketplace business. Another one that is very interesting is the story of a $9 million lifestyle business, Keen Graham, CEO of Monetize More, also a solo entrepreneur. A bigger one where a solo entrepreneur went on to raise a huge amount of money is from solo entrepreneur to $65 million in revenue, Brazilian entrepreneur Daniel Scandian, CEO of Madeira. See, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. Whether you do it as a solo entrepreneur or with a co-founder, it is generally a very lonely path. Even if you end up with 423 employees later, you still have to start alone or perhaps with just another colleague. But please remember, you're not alone. You do have someone safe and knowledgeable to talk to whenever you need to, and that's me at 1 million by 1 million and my team at 1 million by 1 million and the entire 1 million by 1 million community. We meet every week, and you're very welcome to come meet with us and use the 1 million by 1 million network as your support group. It is abundantly possible. Okay, so that's my feedback to solo entrepreneurs. By the way, I'm seeing a lot of solo entrepreneur related questions, various nuances of solo entrepreneur related questions, which tells me that there are a lot of you out there who are trying to build businesses as solo entrepreneurs. And I, for one, am very supportive of that effort. I'm a believer in solo entrepreneurs. And especially because, these days, because of all these services like Upwork and there are other services, niche services from where you can hire people in remote locations in a very cost-effective way, remote agencies, you can, work with agencies and small companies that will support you in various tasks, various functions. You can hire somebody for social media. You can hire somebody for technology development. You can hire somebody for email marketing. You can hire somebody to do your website, blah, blah, blah. There's abundant amount of freelance resources available in the world at very cost-effective prices. So you can, as a solo entrepreneur, you're not really working alone. All these other people are there to help you scale your company, and they are you don't need to put them on like a long-term payroll, equity, and so forth. These are people who will work with you on a as needed basis. And again, you can also create long-term relationships with these people. Many of the vendors that we work with in the Philippines, in India, etc., have been working for us for 10 years. So we're very familiar with the virtual company model, and it's working swimmingly well. So this is why I don't think just because investors tell you, oh, we don't fund solo entrepreneurs, you shouldn't take that as a rejection of the solo entrepreneur strategy. You can be a solo entrepreneur, a successful solo entrepreneur, as long as you follow right methodology. Okay, the next one is, what are some companies that are introducing innovative business models? I would encourage you to look at the whole SaaS category. Go read my article, PaaS, Bootstrapping by Piggybacking, and see if you can ride on a PaaS platform, ecosystem, and marketplace. For some companies, 30% of the leads are coming through these marketplaces. The next question is a personal question to me. What made you decide to become an entrepreneur? Interesting question. I grew up as an entrepreneur's daughter. Entrepreneurship was the way of life most respected in my family. At 16, I decided that I was going to follow in my father's footsteps. I wrote a piece on my journey that you may find interesting, and the piece is called Feminist Father versus Chauvinist Father. So I'll read you from that piece. It's actually quite cool. We hear a lot of complaints about sexism and chauvinism in 21st century Silicon Valley. I want to share some stories from India in the mid-20th century. It may sound prehistoric, but it wasn't that long ago. I was born into an old family in Calcutta, India. We were a traditional extended family with about 25 family members and 25 servants living in the same family home. My father is the youngest of 6 siblings, 3 brothers and 3 sisters. His father, my grandfather, was a good man, a noble patriarch, well-meaning, trying to do the right thing. The right thing, however, in his worldview at that time did not include his sons and daughters equally. My father's youngest sister, however, had her own ideas. She became a nuclear physicist, completed her PhD, and went on to England to do her postdoc at Oxford in the early 1960s. Eventually, she became a professor at the Shah Institute of Nuclear Physics in Calcutta. My aunt, I am immensely proud to say, was a pioneer in her generation when her peers were mostly being married off in the late teens and early 20s. My grandfather was a savvy real estate investor. He had inherited a strong portfolio and grew it many folds. In his will, he left all his assets to his 3 sons. His daughters did not inherit anything. If this strikes you as unjust, it was. However, it was also how society operated at that time. My grandfather did things in tune with society's norms. But he was a good man. In fact, in his own way, he too was a pioneer. He nurtured and supported his daughter's ambitions. He was even a feminist to stand by her and let her pursue her dreams against society's norms. But when it came to property rights, he was not a pioneer. He was not a feminist. My father grew up as part of this family, observing life around him. He had only one child, a daughter, me. From the very beginning, he reinforced in me a simple belief that I could be anything, do anything that I wanted to. In fact, he had expectations that I would at least try to do world-changing things with my talents. Whether I succeed or not, but I would attempt important things was assumed. I left India at 18 to come to college in the United States. I came to Smith College. I went on to MIT to do my graduate work in computer science. I started my first company while still a grad student at 24. I became a serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, eventually founding 1 Million by 1 Million, the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. And this is my 4th company. This venture is my attempt to experiment with an alternative to the fortune at the tip of the pyramid capitalism that is currently in vogue. 1M by 1M aims to democratize capitalism and unlock fortune in the middle of the pyramid. It is my vision for restructuring capitalism. My father supported me every step of the way. The scale of my thinking, my vision, thrilled him. My father is a pioneer. My father is a feminist, and that has made all the difference. Our family still has difficulty with feminism. Many of our men, even in my generation, harbor chauvinistic values. Long time ago, one of my female cousins had said to me, "The difference between you and me is that you have a feminist father, while I have a chauvinist father." Her poignant words ring so very true as I look around even today, even here in 21st century Silicon Valley. A lot gets decided about your life, your choices, your future by what you experience as a child. If a father instills feelings of limitations, of barriers, of ceilings to what a girl can do, that will always remain as a nagging voice expressing self-doubt. Many of my friends who have experienced chauvinist fathers have gone out to prove to themselves and their fathers what they can achieve. They have achieved way more than what they were told they could achieve. But they have had to expend huge energy to overcome the self-doubt that was deeply ingrained in them from the beginning. I was immensely fortunate not to have to worry about any of that. My self-esteem is rock solid. My confidence is profound, fundamental, core, and that is a gift from my feminist father. So, in this context, somebody actually asked me a question. You haven't mentioned anything about your mother. What role did she play in what you are today? And I answered, my mother had a feminist father who was far ahead of his times. I think it impacted her greatly, and I benefited from her educated, multidimensional upbringing tremendously. Okay, so that's on feminism, chauvinism, and what got me started on entrepreneurship. I went off a little bit on a tangent, but I thought this would be interesting for you to listen to, especially those of you who are listening to me in the audience who are young women or are men raising young women, young girls. Please raise your daughters as feminist fathers would, instilling in them the belief that they can do anything, they can be anything, as my father raised me. And I think it makes a tremendous difference. All right, I will do one more question, which is, whom do you see as the best modern day entrepreneur and why? Great question. For me, today, the entrepreneur that I admire the most above everybody else is Bill Gates. And this is why. He has not only built a great company, Microsoft, but he has also been a great philanthropic leader. Bill Gates retired from Microsoft in his 40s, and today he's in his 60s. So for the last 20 years, he has played. First, he remained as chairman of Microsoft and started spending a lot of time on his philanthropic initiative, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he took on really big topics that are very contemporary topics today. Vaccination is one of them. Polio vaccination, eradicating the world of polio is one of their big achievements. He has done tremendous amount of work in education and healthcare around the world. And this year, Bill Gates and the foundation has done tremendous work in vaccine development and ensuring that these vaccines get distributed properly in the poorer countries like in India and the African countries and so forth. So Bill Gates had warned the world that a pandemic is coming, and if it comes, something like what is happening today is going to happen, and nobody listened. And here we are, but as we are here, Bill Gates is continuing to play a leadership role in figuring out solutions to the current pandemic era problems. So he has my deepest respect. I don't see anybody in that league by way of leadership in both creating a great company, and Microsoft is proving to be a great company. It has gone through multiple changes. It started in the desktop era, moved to client server, successfully made the transition to the internet era, then to the smartphone era, AI, cloud computing. It has managed, it's not the most entrepreneurial, most innovative company, but it's a very, very good company for its scale, for its size, how it manages to make these shifts. And it has chosen a great CEO in Satya Nadella. So For all this and more, I would say Bill Gates is my hero. Okay, that kind of brings us to the end of the session. The last question I will answer is, how can I get feedback from you on my venture? So if you want feedback from me on your venture, on your project specifically, the best way to do that would be by coming to one of our free public roundtables. Go to 1mby1m.com, go to free public roundtables, register to pitch, register to attend, whichever you prefer. If you want to watch a few times before before pitching, that's fine too. And there's a whole bunch of resources in there on that page on tools that you can use to prepare for this pitch. And I will be very happy to work with you at these safe working sessions, typically on Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific time over WebEx. I wish you all the best. Please be safe and have a safe holiday season. Do not gather in groups. We are not at a point yet where we can do a lot of group gatherings and have lots of fun and partying and so on and so forth. So please be careful and, enjoy with small family groups. We are all enjoying our core families very much. There's great joy, great, immense pleasure to be with close family, create great food at home and eat good food, maybe play chess or play Monopoly and just be, Holidays can be enjoyed with small groups of people as well. Don't get COVID. Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming.